What are you going to New York for today?
To speak.
To speak? Awesome. All right. Okay. We are, and I just went back through Zoom so we don't have to worry about Wirecast. And yep, we are live and they can hear you now.
Hello.
Beautiful. All right, let's get back to where we were. So you were going to tell us a little bit about your story with your wife. So tell us a little bit about what happened there.
Yeah, Glenn, I was married for 41 days, and
Wow.
I got the news too. I was trying to go back. Me and my wife got married, and we were trying to meet back up. And our plans was her to have a breast reduction surgery, and for both of us to meet back up in Oklahoma and go out on Valentine's Day. And the surgeon that was performing the surgery had did some prior surgeries with family members of mine. And so I was well interested in them. So she flew down from Chicago to go to Oklahoma to have the breast reduction. I flew down to Austin to go see my sister perform at a play, and then I would connect with her. And on my way to flying to Austin, I sit next to a guy that owns Austin Jet Company, but he's on my plane in American Airlines. And this guy is sitting there, and we're talking about our families the whole flight, and as we land the plane, he said, well, I'll talk to you later. I never thought I really would talk to him again. And I didn't know I would be talking to that man within the next 10 minutes.
Wow.
From leaving him and getting to the baggage claim, or even from the time of being up in the air and getting down back on the ground, me and that guy grew a close relationship. And in those seconds, I didn't really think I would ever have to go back to that relationship or ever need it again. And when I got to the baggage claim, the people called me, the surgeons called me from the clinic, and they said, Tommie, you need to hurry and get to Oklahoma. Your wife stopped breathing. So at that time, I started to panic. I really couldn't understand what they were saying in the midst of baggage claims and everything going on.
Right.
And he said, you need to get to Oklahoma. Ashley just stopped breathing and she's unresponsible to take it. Whatever you could do, get her. So I ran up to all the counters and I tried to get in on a flight, and everything was locked out and frozen. So the lady said, no way we could get out. So immediately my hand went into my pocket and pulled out the card that said Austin Jet Company. And I literally just called the guy and I said, hey, they said I remember that family I was telling you about. That just, they said my wife stopped breathing on the table and she's unresponsive. And next thing you know, the guy said, where are you headed? I said, Killeen. I was supposed to see my sister do a play and then fly out from there and go to Oklahoma. He said, well, I'll have a plane meet you in Killeen, which was 45 minutes away. I have a jet waiting for you.
Wow.
So when I get to Oklahoma, I realized my wife had been unresponsive for a while. No one had told me for 3 days. I had to watch my wife sitting there. And after the third day, I finally couldn't watch the show anymore. They were only harvesting her organs. So they weren't really saving her. They was harvesting her organs. Right. Long story short, the story goes, I mean, all over there. From there, I had to decide to pull the cord on my wife. I saw the machine just breathing for her, and I told God that once I pulled the last cord, that I'll wake up every day to make sure everyone really knows that the power of this breath that is moving inside their body. And as long as that keeps showing up in your life, your breath without a machine doing it, then you have a duty and you owe others because God keeps giving it to you. This is a machine that God must breathe through. And that's what I really focused on. When I remember walking through the airport, Glenn, I literally was about 300 pounds then, way bigger than this. But I could not find one person to give me a hug. in the era
Really?
where I was going through, I wanted somebody to hug me, somebody to notice me, somebody to see me. And everybody had to, they were so busy and too busy to notice anybody else beyond themselves. So I believe that sometimes what we call misery, I believe that that's something that God connects to our ministry. Our misery is our ministry.
Right.
So whatever anyone's out there fighting to, I just pray that God gives them courage today to approach the day. You never know that stranger that you're running to can be the guy that is the one that will save you, give you a greeting card, put a jet company in your. You never know who you're talking to. When you're born into the world, the first person that grabs you is a stranger. When you're taken out of here, the person that comes get your body is a stranger. So I learned
Right.
that every day about my life is about greeting the stranger, like you talked about the servant. Just it only makes sense to arise and to waken. Hey, how can I help someone else beyond myself? Because some
Mhm.
days yourself is stopped. It's captured into feeling. Some days yourself get into its feeling. Some days, and
Yep.
I've learned through my situation that it's not how I feel, but I begin to awaken the will, the thing that reminds myself the promises that I said I would do on today. And I just came to say whatever it is that a person is dealing with, you may be dealing with grief, death, with all the different things. I ask that you continue to just persevere today and recognize that as long as I got this thing moving inside your body, there's breath, there's an opportunity. And if you're dealing with grief, that I had to come to the realization that God doesn't make any mistakes. And if he
Hmm.
wanted you in that casket, he would have put a bunk bed in there. And you're
Hmm.
not there, and you have another day in the land of the living. You constantly have to remind yourself. And if you don't want to be here for others. And that's the number one thing I've learned about this whole situation: to serve others. There's no anxiety. There's no depression. I don't get any of those feelings or those emotions unless I'm self-seeking. And that's not worth getting out of bed for. So the reason
That's right.
why I'm up for others this early in the morning, man, is because I believe that God connects us for one another to inspire one another through all that we go through daily. Who will continue to show up and keep persevering? I don't know.
Man.
Sorry, that's a lot, but
That's a lot, and I love that. That's a lot. I mean, there's so much wisdom in there, man. You talked about the misery being your ministry. You talked about connecting with strangers. You know, I have an airplane story. The guy didn't have a jet, and I didn't have tragedy on the other side. But when my father passed away, the day after my dad passed away, they arrested me and put me in jail because me and my dad had the same name. And when they ran his name, I had an old warrant that I hadn't taken care of some old business. And so right after I buried my father, that next morning, they took me to jail. I spent some days in jail. And when I got out of jail, I was on a plane coming back to Kentucky. And the guy next to me, his name's Adam Kramer, guy next to me, him and I kind of got to talking. And at some point right before we landed, he looked over at me. He said, "Do you have a watch?" I said, "No, I don't. I don't have a watch. The only watch I ever had was one that my father had given me, and my brother had actually stole that watch and pawned it. Right? He had pawned that watch, so that watch was gone." And this complete stranger next to me, he said, "I know it sounds weird, but God's telling me to give you my watch." And he gave me his watch, a Giorgio Armani watch. He gave me his watch, and I still have that watch to this day. A week later, I ran into him at the church that I was later baptized in, and him and I are really, really, really good friends. So, like you said, you just never know who God's
no,
putting in your path.
you never know, man.
You never know. So much wisdom there, and I love the visual of this being the machine, right? This is the machine that God is using to breathe life into us so that we can serve and breathe life into others, man. I
Uh,
appreciate that.
yes, sir.
That
Yes,
is
sir.
some
It's
bro.
the opportunity, man. The opera, man, in Latin means to. The opera meant tide, right? It's when the gates would open before we had motorboats, before we had machines, where we used to have to just wait for the current of life to push you in and goods to come in, the opera would be a moment where the gates would have, they would feel that it was safe enough that they can open the gates before the army could come in. They would have to grab the food, or the army, if they don't shut the gates enough, the army have that same current to come in.
Right.
So the opera becomes a fast moment that you must move. And if you don't move at that moment, you miss your goods. So I
Right.
say today, man, whatever it is that you're moving on, see this breath, each moment as an opportunity. I call it the 1440, Glenn. You got 1,440 minutes in a day.
Yeah, man.
You're only going to use 720 of them. That's 12. That's 12 hours. So it's, what are you going to do for 60 seconds? What can you do for 60 seconds, moment by moment, checking that you have 1,440 minutes daily. I mean, that's what God gives you a day in man's time. And when I learned how to break it down, 720 that, you're almost going to use almost of that. So it's like, okay, what do I really want to do? Do I really want to touch people? Am I trying to walk out here and be cool? I had to realize, Glenn, when I wake up out of this bed, God, my name is not Tommie anymore. After I've been through all these different things, I've really become not just a servant, but at this age, I'm a steward. God is starting to steward, be locked in over who you are and where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Who you are in where you are. Be locked in who. Put your mind into a place wherever you are today. What if I can serve others and not make this day about me? Mm-hmm. There is a magic that takes place and takes all the pressures out of others. If I can already know that God got me, that's why I'm going to give myself today. And what happens if depression, if anxiety, and all these things come after the servant? Nobody will show up and serve. If the servant's depressed, who will help? Right. So it literally comes to where you got to push through today and know that there's an epidemic of misery that loves company. Mm-hmm. And I won't be a part of that company that it will keep. Yeah. And I constantly make the difference that I know what the status quo says, but I am an overcomer. I'm a believer. I'm a steward. I'm a servant. It has to speak itself into action.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is the earliest I've been up in a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about 4:45, 4:30. That's whoa.
That's early. That's the love. You know, Tommie, I'm a firm believer that those things that you're talking about, the anxiety, the depression, all of that stuff, I'm a firm believer that it comes from how a lot of people start their day, right? I feel like people start their day, like you said, self-serving. They go right into social media. They go right into the emails and the texts, and they go right into violence and anger and politics and all of these things. It's kind of how they start their day. And the reason I rise so early, and a lot of people that watch the show, the reason that we rise early is to kind of so that we can start our day our way. We can start our day in the Word. We can start our day in gratitude. We can start our day setting some goals and getting ready to attack that world that you're talking about that's out there, right? That world of misery that loves company, and making sure that we can be a light. And for me personally, that means I got to get up at 4:25, man. I got to get up early. But for everybody, it's different. Tell us a little bit about your routine. You're not an early riser, but what's a morning look like for you?
I am I've been an early riser, man. When I played in the NFL, college football, my whole life been early riser.
Okay.
So after retiring, I had to get back in I took a while off, and then I had to anytime you're in that routine, that I call that goal setting routine. When you're ready to get up, you got something set in your mind that you're ready to do. That's where I'm back. I'm back in my speaking now. I'm back in. So I even appreciate the training back now. Like I'm getting up early, but I'm refocusing, and God's putting people back in. Sometimes you know how that thing goes. Sometimes you're on it, and then sometimes. So the consistency of getting it done and saying, this is what I want to be. I want to be an early riser. One of the things I love to do when I awaken is the first thing I do is find a place of thanks and gratitude as soon as I
That's
open my eyes and
right.
realize that out of all the people here, a lot of people didn't make it today. And I'm here. God has made me one of these people. When I did this story, this study, Glenn, I recognized that 151,000 people die every day, and 360 something thousand are born every day. So that's like a 50% chance when I open my eyes, like, man, I'm here, God. I really appreciate the opportunity. I know all these things are going on. I know all this stuff, my bills and all that. Those aren't even real things beyond you opening your eyes. So right there, the Bible says that this is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice, find something to rejoice in and be glad in it. And that's that part of not making it about you. The next thing I do from there is make a commitment to making up my bed. I know that sounds weird, but once I make my bed, it's called locked. I can't get back in it. I can't get back in the bed. And then from there, I'll get on my knees and I'll give God thanks and I'll start my day, go into my mirror. I have something written on my mirror, my different affirmations. Tommie, you are great. I tell myself what I am. I make up my bed in the morning to commit that I made up in my mind to lock in, to serve, to help others. I've known that this is not about me. So it's a very different way of getting up. And that helped me after going through a grief like that. It's difficult to try to start back or to even care about starting back. So to have the drive, these are disciplines that have helped me get myself back onto a track that helps me greet the day.
That's beautiful, man. I love that you touched on all those points. The gratitude is so important. That the time with God is so important. I like that. Locking the bed. I can't get back in it. It's locked. It ain't no getting back.
As much as I want to, I can't. I locked it.
I get it, and I love it, man. Now, you mentioned the NFL and the grind routine that you had back when you were playing in the NFL. Real quick, let's touch on that. What are two things? I'd like to know what was your favorite part about being in the NFL, and maybe what was the hardest or the toughest, or maybe the thing you liked the least about being in the NFL. Could you share that with us this morning?
Favorite thing about being in the NFL, I would say the locker room. I mean, the locker room is like what you think heaven would be. It's the black, the white, everybody's getting together, coming together. It might not be that way outside, but once you come in there, it's like someone has set an environment for people from all races. They have one goal, and that's find a way to win.
Right.
And then in finding a way to win, you realize that you will have some L's, and those that fight through that. But it would be that, and then the thing I dislike most about the NFL was the business aspect. Straight business.
Right. All business, no friendship, no emotion, none of that stuff mattered. It was all about the money. Right?
Unfortunately, yeah, you think they like you and difference by the end, years keep going and going, things start changing. So just no one likes to come to the realization that they're just a
product.
The product, what I'm saying? Like, in
Yeah.
the marketplace. So, but it's one of the greatest jobs I see in the world that you can have. I just said I had a good job. That's it at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
Had a good job, man. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, when you knock out 3 Pro Bowls and you play at the level you played, I'm assuming I shouldn't say I'm assuming, I know it pays pretty well too. It pays well for being a good job.
Pretty well. Yeah, I was the highest paid in my position.
I know it. I saw that. You got a $40 million contract at one point, didn't you?
But Aaron Donald got like 3 of them for his bonus up front. Like I said, man, that was nothing. I thought I had something.
That's amazing, man. All right, hey, we're gonna wrap this up. Like a half hour just flies by so stinking fast on this show. Sometimes I think I need to do longer interviews because I could talk to you all day long. I love where your head's at, and I feel like you and I have some great synergy. But as we send everybody off today, okay, we're gonna send our friends and our family members out into the world today. I want you to picture an image real quick. I want you to picture that you are up on top of a mountain, okay? You're on top of a mountain, kind of iRobot style, and all of civilization is around you. They're all around, and everybody's looking up at you. They're cheering, Tommie, 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 and you've got 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to drop some piece of wisdom on them, something valuable that they can apply in their lives today, this week, this month, this year. And you only got 2 minutes. What are you going to tell them?
What I would tell them that I would tell them whatever it is in their life that they want to do it. And the goal setting that we talked about, to put your goals in mind and to go up there and to make a commitment in your mind this morning to achieve what you said you can be. And that's pretty, they can do it. Whatever they want to be, they can do it. Whatever you want to do. I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying, but y'all can do it. I don't want to keep fluffing over the fluff. That question was hard, from the mountain to the down to the top. I would tell them, this is what I tell them for real. I would tell them, as you go through life, anything in this life that you want, you can achieve. But it takes an approach, a conscious approach every day to keep going after a thing and going after a thing and going after a thing. And if you can do this enough, it can't deny you success. To keep showing up. And it's who's driving mentally that matters. What guy's going to drive whatever they're coming to, whatever you want to get to. What is driving your vehicle? Is it a positive attitude showing up, or is it a negative attitude showing up? And we only go as far as our attitude. So that's all this, to bring in the servant, to bring in the steward, to bring in our attitude. All those things are gas and fuel by our attitude. So I would say really lock in. I didn't even know that. The number one thing I tell you is smile, even if you don't feel like it, because it changes your DNA, you know? So something begins to happen where it denies how you feel, but what you're willing through how you're feeling. So it's a reminder, even though I don't feel like this, I still have the ability or the permission to smile. And in that, it keeps resetting what I said I want to be. So just remember to, thank you, man.
If you will it, then you can feel it. I love that.
Yes,
I love that. And just keep getting after it. Keep getting after it. And coming from a guy like you, I'm sure you had that dream when you were young and you put in the work. You had that dream when you were in college, you put in the work, and then you got the reward. You got to fight and play in the NFL, the 1% of the 1%. And I am so grateful that you chose to spend some time with us this morning, man. You are an incredible human being, man. Incredible human being.
Man, thank you, Ron.
Yeah, man.
Now it's time to rise and grind.
That's right. It's time to rise and grind, man. I like telling everybody on my show every day. I like to make sure everybody knows. I'm tell you the same, but man, and I know you already know this, but you are a child of God, my man. Uniquely made by the God of the universe to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And you're doing it, Tommie. You're out there serving. You're out there making an impact. Your video has made such an incredible impact on me and the members of this group and millions of people around the world, man. And I, for one, I absolutely love you for it, brother. I do. I absolutely love you, man.
Thank you, Len.
All right, brother. Well, let's let them go. I'm gonna pop off of here. We'll hop off the live. I really appreciate you. Hang tight for just a second, if you would, please, Tommie. And I'll get them off of here, and I'll go over a couple things with you, and then I'll let you go. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
All right, my man. Thank you. All right, you guys out there in Facebook land, we've had some crazy this morning. It's been a little crazy this morning, but we got through it all, and I'm so glad that you guys stuck with us. It's been an absolutely powerful 30 minutes. If you missed any of it, make sure you go back with my man Tommie Harris, who's out there serving the world in a powerful way. Have an incredible day today. Have an over-the-top, phenomenal, fantastic, best day you've ever had. Make sure you name the day. Let's name the day. Let's name the month. And then come back here again Monday morning, 5:30 a.m. We'll do it all over again on #RiseAndGrind.